Good morning. I'm here with Ann Stewart from Massachusetts for a CPRE Knowledge Hub Policy Matters video. And Ann is the parent rep for the Massachusetts State Board of Education. Good morning.
Good morning.
So Ann, this is a pretty whirlwind education environment, and things are changing quite rapidly. And I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest opportunities and challenges that you see that are happening in Massachusetts in the next year or so?
Everyone knows that there's this new law on the books called the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA for short. And for the past 15 months since that law was enacted in December 2015, we've been, like many states, we've been hard at work meeting with various constituencies, various stakeholder groups, determining a process, getting feedback, hearing from folks about what they think would be important for a student who graduates in Massachusetts, and how to improve their education and improve equity and outcomes for students. So that's one major area. At the same time, we've also been working on a brand new, or actually it's a hybrid assessment system that combines some of the work that Massachusetts was engaged with on the park governing structure, as well as our legacy assessment system, the Massachusetts Comprehensive Assessment System, or MCAS. So that new system, the next generation of assessments, MCAS 2.0, has been concurrent with the ESSA work as well. So it's been very busy. So
let's talk about those two things. So first of all, what are some of the things that you've taken away from this, from meeting with various stakeholder groups and constituents? And so what has the state board decided, or what are some of the areas that you might move in based on what you've learned from that, checking out the terrain?
Sure. So I guess first of all, just hearing from everyone and trying to develop a process with the department whereby we are able to gather real-time and online feedback from people from various places, whether that's community stakeholders or parents or practitioners in the field, or other advocacy groups and other associations and research people and university folks, so that I think really getting that comprehensive inclusion of everyone, so that all feedback can be at least put on the table and looked at, and then deciding what actually is then going to go into our state plan based on what we've heard from people. So
what are some of the key things that you're going to introduce into the state plan?
Well, I think some of the newer things have to do with a well-rounded education. What does that mean? Some of the non-academic things that we're looking at have to do with arts education, also with safe and supportive schools, looking at school climate, that kind of thing. In terms of academics, it's looking at some of this, just continuing on the path of English, language arts, and mathematics, and in the course of all of this, of these two pieces, both regarding ESSA and the MCAS 2.0, we've had to review our curriculum frameworks that were embedded, had the Common Core worked into them back in 2011, but now we had to just look again at and making sure everything was aligned for a new test that could be aligned to that work.
Did that lead to many changes?
Well, I think so, and also because the previous MCAS wasn't all up to, could be improved in terms of its mathematics frameworks, and so that was a big area. We're also looking at civics education now, where we've got a student group coming in next week when we have our meeting to talk to us about financial literacy and how that should be an important piece. And so there's always something happening, so it's just kind of, it's really interesting.
Massachusetts is seen as as one of the leading edge states, and so what are some of the things that you've learned from being a board member that you think it would be good to share with board members from other states?
I think it's always good to ask whatever questions you have, whether they are in alignment, whether it's an area of questioning or to question in general. A lot of people just don't think that's necessary. If you have a staff that, of professionals who have looked at everything and are bringing forward a recommendation, and you should just go ahead and approve those things. Mm-hmm. So knowing that that's going to happen, I think it's still even more vital that board members bring forward whatever questions or concerns they might have, and just put it on the table, let it be heard, and many times it's just in the asking that you can sort of see how things can fit together better, or also just hearing what some of the thinking has been to go in a decision. So it does help, I think.
In a democratic system, a board that represents different interest groups and constituencies can be an important advisorial and feedback mechanism for a State Department of Education. Is there an example of in your 3 years on the board where the perspectives from the board contributed to the department thinking a little bit differently about a particular policy?
Sure, I'll say right out that whole decision on the test. I mean, as you know, our commissioner was the chair of the governing board for Park, and it was, initially seemed almost a fait accompli that we would just use the Park exam. Mm-hmm. But I think then the impact of board members asking more rigorous kinds of questions about the actual rigor or something in the, how useful is the mathematics exam? Is it as rigorous as, is our MCAS math exam, the best test it can be? Is the Park, ELA the best test it can be? And then I think by really questioning those things, really caused the department to step back, the commissioner for sure, and kind of look again, and then also realize there's a whole lot of, there was a lot more behind the scenes that actually went into just going with a Park test than met the eye.
So, Marianne, from your perspective as a board member, what advice would you give to researchers to help them to make their work maximally useful to policymakers like yourself?
I think anytime certain, not just researchers, but researchers can provide some understanding of some of the work that's in play already or is about to come into play, can be of enormous value, I think. I know I appreciate many perspectives, hearing from different perspectives on issues really helps me to make the best, most informed decisions. So I think that's, I like to hear from researchers early on, I guess, that's a personal thing, if possible, before any decisions have to be made. It really helps to lay a good foundation for me to understand, what the research says about certain things. It helps me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your comments,
You're
and
welcome.
I really appreciate your spending some time with us and joining us on the Super Knowledge Hub's Policy Matters.
You're welcome.